Though the fight is far from over on the control of the Panama Canal, the Trump administration just racked up a huge win in the country of Panama. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has succeeded in convincing Panama's president, Jose Mulino, into opting out of his renewal agreement with China and their Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI.
Una cosa importante, que es una decisión que adopté y se la comuniqué. El memorándum de entendimiento del año 2017 sobre la ruta de la seda de Belt and Road Initiative no será renovado por mi gobierno. Eso es así. Vamos a estudiar la posibilidad de si se puede terminar antes o no, pero creo que le toca en 1 o 2 años la renovación, porque es cada 3. Así que esa iniciativa que se firmó, cuando se firmó, en el tiempo que se firmó, no será renovada por mi gobierno. Creo que esta visita abre un camino para construir una nueva etapa de relaciones. Así lo veo yo, así lo sentí de parte del secretario Marco Rubio, y a la vez tratar la medida de lo posible de que se incrementen las inversiones de los Estados Unidos en Panamá. Le expliqué una serie de proyectos de infraestructura que el gobierno tiene en carpeta, en cartera, con el ánimo de que las conozcan y en su momento que se hagan las licitaciones, que comenzarán muy pronto, pues se pueda entrar.
Now, Panama's decision to withdraw from the China's Belt and Road Initiative appears to be a signal that President Mulino is trying to ease tensions with the United States. By snubbing the BRI with China, Panama is showing themselves willing to realign their foreign policy priorities in favor of the United States over China, as well as address U.S. deep concerns over dangerous Chinese influence in the region. Now, this is critical because China's Belt and Road Initiative is an insidious tool that they use to gain huge amounts of global power. The BRI is essentially a debt trap diplomacy tool. See, here's how this works. First, China will offer excessive loans. They'll extend huge loans to low-income, heavily indebted countries that may struggle to repay them. This is part of the deal. These loans often fund infrastructure projects that other lenders would probably not consider because they are too risky or perhaps unprofitable. And why this matters is when countries can't repay their debts, China may acquire things like strategic assets. The countries may end up ceding control of key infrastructure, like ports or mines, to the Chinese government. They'll often gain military access. Some BRI agreements, for example, have provided China with unrestricted military access to, again, strategic locations. And perhaps one of the most common side effects is indebted countries would feel compelled to support China's positions in international forums. And it also goes beyond backing up China in the public square, so to speak. There's also the erosion of sovereignty. Some countries have to adjust their domestic policies to meet the BRI requirements. And all of this leads to economic leverage that China enjoys. The BRI positions China at the center of Eurasian trade, given its significant economic influence. Now, China, of course, denies that their loan program is deliberately predatory, but considering China's background and history, this seems somewhat unlikely. So this brings us back to the announcement by President Mulino of Panama. They are the first Latin American nation to exit the BRI. Panama is essentially positioning themselves as the regional leader in resisting Chinese influence, which aligns with the U.S. interests in the Western Hemisphere. This, long-term, will likely end up being a lucrative move for Panama, as this will incentivize the Trump administration to make further deals with his country. By reaffirming their sovereignty over the Panama Canal and rejecting Chinese influence, Panama is essentially seeking to assuage U.S. fears and concerns about foreign control while maintaining their independence. Now, many people are scratching their head and asking why the sudden change of heart by the Panama president. Trump's aggressive stances towards other South American countries in the region has made it quite clear that he intends to clear the field of opposition. Get in his way and he'll railroad you. Because of this, despite all the bluster from the president of Panama in recent weeks over the Panama Canal battle, it is likely that he is acutely aware that Donald Trump has been orchestrating moves behind the scene to force the return of the Panama Canal if he doesn't get his way. Now, this may seem like hyperbole, but Trump has a knack for getting his way. President Mulino has to know that when push comes to shove, he has no real way to stop the US from doing whatever the hell they want to in the region. For example, this is an article from Fox News. This was published yesterday about this very development. They titled it, Panama Pledges to End Canal Deal with China, Work with US After Marco Rubio Visit. Fox News writes that during his visit, Rubio wrote in a post on X that the United States cannot and will not allow the Chinese Communist Party to continue with its effective and growing control over the Panama Canal area. Trump has complained that China exerts control over the canal and charges U.S. ships six-figure premiums to cross Panama's isthmus. The canal was built over several decades by the U.S. and completed in 1914, but handed over to Panama during the Carter administration, which was stupid, but what's done is done, right? Now, Trump has made regaining ownership of the Panama Canal a priority in his administration. House Republicans introduced a bill for the United States to repurchase the Panama Canal after Trump raised concerns that the critical waterway is under Chinese control. The bill, named the Panama Canal Repurchase Act, was introduced by Representative Dusty Johnson, a member of the Select Committee on China and the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Johnson said in a statement that President Trump is right to consider repurchasing the Panama Canal. China's interest in and presence around the canal is a cause for concern. America must project strength abroad. Owning and operating the Panama Canal might be an important step towards a stronger America and a more secure globe. If it becomes law, the bill would give the president authority to act in coordination with the Secretary of State to, quote, initiate and conduct negotiations with appropriate counterparts of the government of the Republic of Panama to reacquire the Panama Canal. The U.S. Department of State estimates around 72% of all vessels that travel through the Panama Canal are coming from or going to a U.S. port. Noting the canal's strategic importance to the United States, Johnson's office also noted how the waterway is a key transit point for U.S. Coast Guard and Department of Defense vessels. Without access to the canal, ships would be forced to travel 8,000 additional miles around South America. Johnson said that more than 10,000 ships use the Panama Canal each year, generating billions of dollars of tolls, which would economically benefit America. And while the canal and China's role in the region topped the agenda, Rubio had other items to raise. He said, we also discussed efforts to end the hemisphere's mass migration crisis and ensure fair competition for U.S. firms. So this is all veiled messaging to Panama. Shape up or else. The Trump administration is hell-bent on ensuring security for the United States in the region, and perhaps, in Trump's view, to right a wrong and what he sees as stupid policies that have crippled the United States' power in the region. And so, the battle to reinvigorate the U.S.'s dominance and security in the region continues.